Okay, this is part 11 of why what Senator Mitch McConnell said is wrong. He says we don't have a taxing problem, we don't tax too little. That's false. And I want to pick up where I left off here. I was talking about the offenses committed by George Bush while in office. And when you start two wars, and you don't raise taxes to pay for them, that's abandonment of duty, war tax desertion. But with Bush, he cut taxes during two wars. That's doubly wrong. Now this 203 tax cut here, the major component of that tax cut was the tax cut on dividends and capital gains. And Republicans here controlled both houses of Congress, and there was a tie. And the Vice President, Dick Cheney, was called in to break the tie. But George Bush signed this tax cut after the Iraq War had started. Now there's two wars in progress. And guess what? Republicans here controlled both houses of Congress in 2005, and they passed the Tax Increase Prevention and Reconciliation Act of 2005. Now why during two wars with these huge deficits here would you pass a bill preventing a tax increase? Now this shows that when Republicans are in power, they don't listen to reason, they don't listen to the facts. They cut taxes, even when it's not right. It's not right to cut taxes on millionaires and billionaires when you're in two wars with these high deficits. Now, Eisenhower over here would have never considered cutting taxes during two wars. That would have been considered treasonous. Now, George Bush, here's another offense, because we're speaking of offenses right now. He's the only president in U.S. history to sign an August no tax increase pledge. Now that violates the oath of office, because he cannot pledge his allegiance to the American people in the Constitution when he has pledged his allegiance to Norquist, who is a non-constitutional, non-elected power. He is called the Dark Wizard. And that's just another name for the devil. You can't pledge your allegiance to the devil and the American people. You sign the pledge, you can't exercise your congressional powers. That's an impeachable offense. Now, one more tax crime committed by Bush while he was in office is that he repealed the estate tax for the year 2001. Now, that prevents Uncle Sam from collecting back taxes owed due to under-taxation. And that prevents, that allows multimillionaires and billionaires to pass their public debt, which they created during their lifetime, to the next generation, which did not create it. That's immoral. Now, in this country, you can go to jail for shoplifting. But the president can lie, can steal, can violate the Constitution, commit fraud, and it's not a crime, according to our law book. Now let's move on here to Obama, the next president here. Now, he had a chance to get rid of all the Bush tax cuts, a golden opportunity, because they expired at the end of 2010. And didn't require any legislative action. And he blew that opportunity. He signed the extension of the Bush cuts for 2 years, just to get an extension of his unemployment benefits. Now, I'm infuriated. Truman over here would never sign that bill. That was his opportunity to reform the tax code, or go back to the Clinton tax rates. They were better than the Bush here. They lowered the deficit. The Bush increased the deficit. Now there's a difference here between Obama and Franklin D. Roosevelt, because during the Great Depression, Roosevelt had he signed 3 revenue acts. Obama's been in office for 4 years, and he's had no increases in the tax rates for 40 years during the Great Recession. Now George Bush here, he had a stimulus in January of 2008. It was a $600 rebate for up to that amount for singles, and $1,200 for married couples. That was supposed to head off the recession. The thing about that, it was unpaid for. It added $168 billion to the national deficit. Now that didn't prevent the housing bubble burst, or his false economy based on deficit spending. And he had a second stimulus here of $700,000. It's called TARP, the rescue of Wall Street. Now, Obama is not responsible for the recession. That's Bush's fault. But Obama had his own American Recovery and Investment Act there in 2009. It was a stimulus of $787 billion. It was similar to the New Deal, except it had $344 worth of tax cuts. Now the one that were tax credits, the one that comes to my mind is the Make Work Pay tax credit. According to his campaign promise, well, this is a little different now. It was reduced some, but this bill would give you, if it was passed, would give you up to $400 for singles and $800 for married couples. That was one of his campaign promises. But listen, that's a tax rebate at the end of the year. Now, how does that differ from the Bush refund of the phony surplus? Why is it necessary to give voters a tax cut or a gift to get your vote, because these gifts or freebies, they're added to the deficit. You get it now, but the cost is added to the deficit. Now, Obama promised during his presidential campaign that he would pay for that by repealing tax havens that were being manipulated. Did he do that? No. So, for the first 4 years here in office, Obama passed no legislation to increase taxes to bring this deficit down. Now, I want to go to this chart here next. It says inequity rising, inflation-adjusted household income is from 1979 to 2007. That's just prior to Reagan here, and it goes through George Bush. You see this line going up here? That's the increase of the top 1% households of income. Now, the Reagan tax cuts did not reduce the deficit like he stated it would. The same with Bush over here. He claimed the same thing. Instead of the tax cuts on the wealthy, instead of reducing deficits, they increased the deficits. They were supposed to stimulate the economy, and economic growth was supposed to produce more tax revenues, but that didn't happen. The national debt here increased faster than revenues. But the top 1% here, they were the main beneficiaries of these tax cuts. Now, you can see here, it's flat here, then Reagan is elected. And their income goes up here, it shoots up from these tax cuts. It shoots up again here. Now this is capital gains from the dot-com boom in the stock market during the late 90s. Now we have a decrease here in income. And that was the recession in 2001. Now the income of the top 1% shoots up again. These are the Bush tax cuts, not only in income, but on capital gains and dividends, affecting wealthy. Now, these two lines here at the bottom, this top one here represents the middle 60%. During the same period from Reagan through Bush almost, their income increased 40%. Okay, this bottom line here is the bottom 20%. And during the same period, their income increased 15%. But the difference here is that this is only a $2,700 increase because their base income was $15,000, average family income. But look at here, here's the big difference. This increase here for the top 1% of households was 275%. And it starts with a base here of 350,000, and this top line up here is 1,250,000. It went past that. So this is over a $900,000 increase in income during the same period for the top 1%, and for the bottom 20%, of 2,700. Now, I'm going to go to this chart over here next.